Yeah, okay, I know the movie's been out for like a while now, and the hype's kind of dead, but I just love this movie so much, and I just want to talk about it. Besides, plus, I get to wear the shirt. Besides, it's the last day of the year, and I really wanted to talk about something that I really fucking care about, and was kind of a big deal in 2024. Because I feel like we need to talk about how much of a big deal Deadpool and Wolverine was, not just the fact because it was a third Deadpool movie, and we had Wolverine coming back all the way from Logan. Like we thought he was dead, but then they literally dug up his corpse and used it as a goddamn nunchucks, but also what the movie represents and what it means in the grand scheme of things. And why, in my opinion, I feel like the movie itself was like a lightning in a bottle type shit and kind of like almost like a miracle, especially in the day and age we're living in. It kind of was a big deal. And not just because of the cameos and obviously the aforementioned Wolverine, but because of the movie and what it represents in the real world. And the first two movies, obviously Deadpool movies, were made by Fox, right? They're great. They were a massive success, especially the first one was a really big deal because it was the first R-rated movie, which we all know wasn't actually Deadpool. It was Blade. It was the first superhero R-rated movie. And yeah, it's so super weird. People they always forget that it wasn't Black Panther that was the first black-led superhero movie. It was actually Blade. And if you want to get really specific, then technically Spawn too, right? Because he's black, but it's animated, but it's still a movie nonetheless, right? So it wasn't Deadpool that was the first R-rated movie. It was actually the Blade trilogy. Well, just Blade 1, you know? So Deadpool 1 came out, big deal, and then Deadpool 2 came out, I think, like 2 years later? Yeah, Deadpool 1 came out in 2016, Deadpool 2 came out in 2018, and Deadpool 3 came out 6 years. That's mad, bro. That's a huge jump from 2-year increments to 6 years. The hype for this was absolutely real, but none of us could have predicted that Hugh Jackman would come back as Wolverine. Who else could play the guy, and who else could convince him to play the guy but Ryan Reynolds? All right, if anyone could convince Hugh Jackman to come back and play his iconic character, is Ryan Reynolds, because they're like this. So once again, Deadpool 1 and 2, huge success, but when Deadpool 3 got announced, and we heard that, okay, it's gonna be part of the MCU, that, me personally, I was kind of concerned, because I'm like, you know what happens when it goes to Disney, when it goes to Marvel, right? The MCU films are okay. Ever since Endgame, they've been shit. They've been a couple of good projects, but aside from that, it's pretty much been garbage. But even MCU in its heyday, they were only okay movies. It was only interesting because they were all connected. That's what made it interesting. And when the Infinity Saga happened, then it was a huge payoff because, once again, it was all connected. And it felt like we were being rewarded as watchers, as viewers, to watch the entire saga so that the Infinity War and Endgame payoff is better. But even even this, I don't know, people calling this such a big deal about Black Panther, but it was only okay. Like, it was a generic superhero movie from Marvel, right? Of course, Killmonger was a great villain, probably better than the regular Marvel villains you get, but even then, it was still just like a regular ass movie. It wasn't like a huge deal. It was a cultural big deal, sure, but movie-wise, it's kind of normal. So Deadpool 3 being part of Marvel, of the MCU, was kind of an issue because that means they might tone down the violence and the overall crude nature of Deadpool. Like, it's like trying to censor Deadpool is like trying to censor Eminem. That doesn't make sense because that's part of who he is. But of course, the movie came out, we all saw it, we all loved it, and it was amazing because they did not tone down Deadpool, and it didn't feel like Deadpool was different in this movie because he was part of Marvel. And of course, since he can break the fourth wall, he mentioned it many times, hey, we're part of Marvel. We cannot talk about cocaine or any of the listed aliases of the said street drug. So once again, Deadpool's aware that he's part of the MCU now and that he's like essentially the chosen one, the Messiah, like he says it many times. It makes total sense because out of all the Fox franchises, the X-Men franchise that Fox made is basically dead. Same thing with like Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra, if you want to add all those people, and Blade as well, right? They've all been sinking, but the one consistent cash cow for Fox was Deadpool. And now that is within the domain of Marvel, right? So 20th Century Fox is dead, as we all saw in The Void, right? And now Marvel has it. And so it's like a transferring of this amazing IP Deadpool to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which will thrust it into superstardom, right? Even more than it already was. And even though Deadpool mentioned in the movie that he kind of joining at a low point.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining at a bit of a low point.
Right? It still is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're a part of that shit now. And I think it's also kind of like a meta commentary about how like the real world works, how like, you know, all the older IPs that no one really watches that much get fade into obscurity, whereas the big ones, meaning Deadpool, they get to be integrated into Disney. So much so, like that's a statement right there, okay? Because Deadpool is so far away from Disney. Disney has this wholesome family image that, oh my god, we're family friendly and all this shit, right? Like, once again, they're the mascot in terms of family friendly bullshit. They got Disneyland and all that stuff. Imagine Deadpool going to Disneyland and wreaking havoc. Right, that's the opposite of what you want for your children, right? Granted, children are pretty mature nowadays and they know exactly what the fuck Deadpool's doing and, you know, what he says and all that stuff. But regardless, Disney still has that image to maintain unless it comes to money. So once again, even the act of putting Deadpool in the MCU, even that is so telling of Disney and just overall corporate greed that Disney's stocks are tanking because each one of their movies nowadays are woke pieces of garbage and no one wants to fucking watch them. Whether that's new IPs or remakes, they know they can't make shit. They can't capture audiences with new IPs, so they give up on that and they start making remakes. But guess what? The remakes are a direct insult to its predecessor because they don't respect the source material. Just look at Snow White. Go no further. Just look at that piece of shit. No one's gonna watch. It's gonna tank. So it's gonna lose so much money because they don't care. They want to pander to the woke mob. So go ahead, do that. Go woke, go broke. I said it once to say it again. Go woke, go broke. You know, that's basically what it is, right? But even though Deadpool's so different from Marvel, right? And maybe in the peak era of Marvel would never consider putting Deadpool in their lineup because once again he's such a crude, crass guy, right? It would destroy Disney's family-friendly image. You know what I'm saying? But now that Disney, they're kind of in the shits, they're kind of in the dumps because their stocks are plummeting and no one really fucking cares about them anymore. No one's watching their movies, and you know they've reached their peak and now they're at their bottom, essentially, right? That's an understatement. Now they're willing to take in DP, good old DP, you know, because once again he brings in the big bucks. He already had a successful franchise, first 2 movies, amazing, did it on Fox, right? So now they're willing to integrate him into the MCU, right? See what I'm trying to say? How like even that in and of itself, that move of bringing Deadpool to the Marvel, even that is like a commentary on corporate greed. And as we see later on in the movie, all the cameos, obviously that's another huge deal. That's the whole thing with these multiverse things, the cameo, right? Like when you think of No Way Home or Avengers Endgame, oh, the greatest crossover film of all time. Why? It's because the cameos get people hype, right? No Way Home, especially, like that movie in and of itself was okay. Like it wasn't amazing, but what got you is that, oh my god, it's Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire again. Andrew Garfield never got that 3rd movie. He really needed that, right? But guess what? We got Tobey Maguire. He also, his 4th movie was canceled. So once again, it's all about second chances. You get to see your childhood heroes one last time. The same thing with Blade, same thing with Elektra, Gambit, X-23. We saw her last in Logan. Now she's all grown up. Johnny Storm, of course, I forgot to mention him. Johnny Storm as well. Now, once again, like the Void, which is part of the movie, is like an allegory to all the dead IPs and all things. You go in there, you see the CN Tower, completely makes sense. I live in Canada. Toronto's 20 minutes away. CN Tower is obsolete as shit because once again, when they started making CN Tower, oh my god, it's the tallest building, right? But guess what? Burj Khalifa. But guess what? Like a ton of other skyscrapers. It's not that big deal anymore. So once again, the CN Tower became obsolete. Among other things, also 20th Century Fox. But the Void is a place where all of the rejects go. And then you can see all of the old X-Men villains like Azazel. You saw the shitty Last Stand Juggernaut, and then you saw Toad, and then you saw Pyro, I think that's the name? I'm actually not sure. But you see all these obsolete characters from the previous X-Men Fox verse, right? And they're all there. Because it's all supposed to mean that these are the characters that we have rejected. We, as people who make movies, we just got rid of these characters, we don't need them anymore. But I like how one part in the movie, Blade actually mentioned the fact that, you know, we want to fight for legacy. I was taken out of my franchise and I didn't get to fight for it, right? Blade was canceled. It was over and I didn't get to fight for it. Like it's done, right? And Blade has a trilogy, okay? Like I would say not the same as he's not as popular as Deadpool, but I'd say like especially in the 90s, like he's a big deal. Once again, first black superhero and first R-rated Marvel movie. Don't get it fucking twisted, all right? Give my dog the respect he deserves, right? But I like how in the movie he mentioned that we gotta fight for legacy.
Yes! Yes! Let this man cook!
Once again, he's not just fighting Cassandra Nova, he's also technically fighting the movie studios, the people who make the movies, because once again, these are the characters you haven't seen in the longest time. You haven't seen Elektra, you haven't seen Blade for the longest fucking time, right? But now here they are. Who would have thought? Never in a million years could you have told me that, oh my god, Blade and Elektra are gonna come back, right? And how fucking cool is that gonna be? And it's once again, it's very telling of the world we live in, that executives only really care about money and they'll pull the plug on anything as long as it doesn't meet their goals. This movie, it not just proves something amazing that, you know, an R-rated movie can be in Disney, and essentially this movie essentially made Disney fall to its knees and be like, oh please, right? Because they called him the Messiah, right? Please, because we know all of our shit is tanking, right? None of our movies are working, whether that be Marvel or Disney or Star Wars. Everything is failing in Disney. So we need this saving grace. We need
Marvel Jesus.
We need Deadpool, okay? But once again, if you're gonna bring Deadpool, you gotta play by his rules. Although that wasn't always the case, because behind the scenes, Disney actually cut out a lot of scenes. Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds. Sean Levy is the director, and Ryan Reynolds, once again, he was very involved in the behind the scenes production of the movie. Right? They tried their level best to make the movie that they wanted to. Right? I feel like that's the biggest deal of this whole. That's the takeaway of this whole thing, that they did not let Disney win. Essentially, this is a huge win for movies everywhere, because this proves something great. This proves that this giant media titan that is Disney can also be broken, right? Can also be taken down, right? That was once. Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds, they did not kowtow. They did not bow to Disney, because once again, they had all the cards, right? Disney was already in the shits. But even the fact that they were in the dumps, they still tried to enforce their political agenda on that movie. But thank God it did not work. Although it is unfortunate, because there were some scenes, extended scenes or deleted scenes, that were supposed to be in the movie but were cut. So once again, Disney, once they realized, okay, we can't force them to add our woke bullshit, let's just cut out the scenes that they really like, or cut out certain scenes that would have enhanced the experience. Once again, I guess at that point Disney became bitter. I'm still very pleased with the final product we have, and yeah, it probably is my favorite Deadpool movie out of the three. So due to the circumstances that the movie was made under, the fact that it was made by the very people who are trying to force this woke bullshit into whatever the fuck they want, it kind of is a miracle, isn't it? Right? It kind of is a miracle. It's like joining the KKK as a black man. So once again, this movie, aside from all of its themes and all that stuff, it proves that this woke mob, this satanic cult that's been going around Hollywood lately, where they gotta force woke bullshit into everything, into children's media, into adult media, into literally anything you think about, can be toppled. It can be broken down, right? Because who is bigger than Disney? No one, right? Think about it. No one's as big as Disney. But even they had to essentially take it up the ass. You know what I'm saying? And once again, a lot of this credit goes to Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds, because I know for a fact that they fought very, very hard to retain the original vision of the movie. That's why it feels more than a movie. It feels like a movement of some sorts, right? This is essentially like people who are sick of the woke bullshit. This is like their movie. This is the movie that says, you know what? Fuck you. We're not going to deal with this shit anymore. We're not going to deal with your forced political agendas. You're not going to shove it down our throats, because we will not take it. That's why this movie feels a lot more different than the previous two movies, right? Also, wrapping a lot more things up. There's a huge chance we may not get Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool ever again. I mean, it may happen, but you know, Ryan Reynolds said that he wants to take a break. He doesn't want to, you know, and even if we get a new Deadpool movie, it might be a while. I mean, the last Deadpool movie before Deadpool 3 was in 2018. Then 6 years later, Deadpool and Wolverine. So God knows, maybe 10 years later, Deadpool 4, who even fucking knows? And is it going to be part of the MCU? Probably, because once again, he's part of the MCU now, right? So aside from the fact that this movie is anti-woke, it also proves a beautiful thing that, you know, all your favorite IPs that have been on ice for the past couple of decades, they can be brought back. You know what I'm saying? We got a final showdown with all these characters who have been forgotten, right? And this movie did it. It's because of this movie. If it wasn't for this movie, we would not see Blade again. We wouldn't see Elektra again. Wouldn't see that shitty Juggernaut. Wouldn't see Azazel. Wouldn't see Toad. All these motherfucking characters, right? And we wouldn't get the inclusion, of course, the best thing in the movie, Gambit. And actually, I've heard talks that Gambit may actually be getting his own. He may be showing up in future projects in the MCU. And I'm glad, because I really enjoyed his character in that movie. So once again, it seems like this movie had everything going against it, but still, it came through and it said everything I wanted to say. It did everything I wanted to do, right? That's why I feel like it's a miracle, because it had everything working against it. They were working with Disney. It was R-rated. Everything was working against this movie, but it still managed to fucking slap. I feel like it was going to sell regardless because of the Deadpool name, Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, you can't beat that title. That's so fucking hype, right? But when you look behind the scenes, you realize what was actually going on back there. It seems all the more impressive that the movie ended up being the way it is. So I just want to talk about how much I love this movie and how strongly it makes me feel, because once again, it gives me hope that, okay, if this movie, if this franchise, if Deadpool can do this, then perhaps other franchises can also get out of the grip of wokeness that these companies have them in, right? That means they can probably break free from all this woke bullshit, right? Because Deadpool did not pander. He did not. He's like, fuck this shit. I will do what I need to do, okay? He did not pander to woke. He did not pander to Disney. He did what he felt like. And that's honestly so beautiful, because that's exactly what Deadpool would have done. Case in point, this movie is goated, and it will be remembered for years to come, I feel like, for more reasons than one, as I have broken it down for you, okay? So I just want to talk about it because I really love this movie. And yeah, stay fighting the good fight against the woke mob. We will not fall to them, because they'd have no power in this situation, alright? Sorry, you know what's good. I'm out this bitch.